Whether a conversation will be interesting and exciting or boring and annoying is totally dependent on you and the person or people you're having a conversation with. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you 10 bad conversation habits that's ruining your classy and elegant lifestyle. Let's get right into it. Conversations are the bedrock of our relationships, whether personally, intimately, at work, or even with total strangers. They determine the longevity of the different relationships that we have in our lives. And conversations are also excellent ways to express our ideas and thoughts and feelings to the people in our lives. And that's why knowing how to have quality conversations with the people in your life is actually very important. I've seen a lot of people make terrible mistakes when conversing with others, and I thought it best to film this episode so that I can address some of these mistakes and then we know how to level up in our conversations. I tell you that when you are well equipped and armed with all of the right mannerisms and actions for a quality conversation, it will make conversing with others very interesting and very exciting as well. There are certain habits that contribute to very poor conversations, and if your goal is to have exciting and interesting and effective conversations with others, then these are habits that you must discard with immediate effect. The very first point on my list is using the phrase "not bad" when asked a question. This one especially is when you're chatting and even when you're having a proper conversation with a person. How was your day? Not bad. How are you? Not bad. How was the food? Not bad. In my opinion, not bad is a very tacky way to really express yourself and give a response to a question that you've been asked. What is the meaning of not bad? What does that mean? When you're asked, how are you, Benedicta? Not bad. What does that even mean? Not bad is not a very descriptive way to actually express yourself like an elegant person. When next you are asked a question like, oh, how was the food? Oh, Winnie, your food tasted amazing. I really love how the flavors work well together. Find more words and more ways to express yourself so that your words actually carry meaning and truly voice out your intention. And of course, if your response is going to be in the negative as well, like maybe the food didn't taste good, also look for rich words to express yourself other than using the word or the phrase "not bad." I tell you, the beauty of your response lies in how descriptive it is, okay? If you want people to keep asking you questions, find ways to express yourself correctly, okay? The second conversation killer that I have here on my list is responding with one word when asked the question, especially when you're having a chat with someone. For example, they ask you, how are you? Fine. What are you cooking? Beans. Like, this shows an utter lack of interest in the conversation and just lets the other person just know that you are not really interested in having that conversation with them. Instead of saying, how are you? Find rich ways to actually express yourself. And then if you want the conversation to continue, throw a question back at the person who has asked you the question so that they know that you are actually interested in having whatever conversation that they want to have. So how are you? Oh, I'm fine. Or I'm excellent and full of glory. How are you and how is your day going? That's how you keep on the conversation active instead of responding with just one-liners, okay? The third conversation killer that I have here is cutting people off while they're speaking. Now, swooping in when someone is still trying to make a point is not only just a conversation killer, it actually is also or shows an utter lack of respect for the person who is speaking. Never ever interject or cut someone off when they're actually speaking or making their point. You need to learn to be patient enough for them to be done with whatever they're saying. Then you can speak up when they are done. But interjecting and cutting them off is actually very rude. The only scenario where you are allowed to cut someone off is maybe when you are in a time crunch and you have to let them know. You just interject very politely and let them understand the reason why you have interjected. But just interjecting because you want to cut them off, even though you feel like they're saying something that's not accurate or right, allow them to be done with the point that they're trying to make first before you interject with your response. I tell you, it will not only keep the conversation going, it will also show the other person that you have a great sense of respect for them as well. The next conversation killer that I put down here is completing the speaker's sentence. This one happens a lot in this part of the world. You're having a conversation with someone and then you feel the need to always try to end whatever it is that you're saying for them. Sometimes people do this not from a place of harm or from a place of disrespect, but they do it because they want to keep the conversation going or they want to keep the conversation alive. But what you are actually doing is you are destabilizing and distracting the speaker from what they are saying, and maybe trying to, and when you interject with what you think they're about to say, it makes them lose focus and makes them lose the points, the original points that they're trying to make. And then you make them actually force themselves to buy into whatever you think that they were about to say. So it's important that you allow your speaker finish completing his sentence, even though it will take him a little while, maybe when he's trying to gather his thoughts or trying to look for the proper word or the proper phrase to really express themselves. Just be patient and allow them to finish. The only time it's okay is when the speaker is actually trying to remember a word to use to express himself, and you know that word, and you just gently and quietly chip that word in to make it easy for him to continue saying what he's saying. But every time you have to end the speaker's sentence, it destabilizes them, takes them out of control, and it makes them think that you believe they are not in charge of what they are saying, or they're not confident enough in what they're saying. So allow the speaker or anyone finish whatever they want to say. Let them take their time, and it's your responsibility to be very, very patient with them, okay? Before we go on with the remaining bad conversation habits, a quick reminder that we have a course now in this community called the Art of Speaking Eloquently and Elegantly course. It's a course for anyone who wants to improve their vocabulary, improve the way they communicate, and just learn more about communicating eloquently and elegantly. I'm going to put a link in the description box down below where you can get more information about the course and how you can access the course as well. Let's get back into the video. The next conversation killer is being quick to give unsolicited advice. This is something that I used to do in the past when someone would come to me with a problem, and the next thing I just find myself, because I'm always in solution thinking mode, I find myself offering them advice. But sometimes I've actually learned really quickly that sometimes people just want to share what they want to share, not because they want your advice, but because they just want someone to give them a listening ear. And I actually learned that one the very hard way, but thankfully I have learned and I'm now a lot better. So when someone comes to me and they are maybe venting about something or they're being emotional about something and I allow them to finish, the first question I ask them is, do you want my opinion, or do you just want me to give you a listening ear in this matter? And sometimes they actually say, Winnie, I just really wanted to vent and talk things through. And then sometimes they say, oh yes, what do you think I should do? So ask them in that situation whether or not you should give an advice or whether they just want your listening ear in that situation, okay? That actually helps them know that you respect them, you value what they're trying to say to you, and yeah, it keeps the conversation going. The next conversation killer is dominating the conversation by not allowing other people to air their views. Guys, you know the conversation is really, really, really bad when there's only one person talking. Meanwhile, there are more than 2 or 3 people in the conversation. Don't be the one who is dominating and you keep talking and talking and talking and you never ever just wrap things up or get to your point. Get to your point really quickly. That's actually another point here. But never monopolize a conversation. It is a conversation for a reason. Allow other people air their views as well, okay? The next conversation killer is looking at your wristwatch during a conversation. This shows that you are actually either crunched for time, or you have to go, or you're not really interested in having the conversation that's about to be had. Especially if you use a smartphone. You know, sometimes you usually get your notifications on your smartphone, and sometimes people don't know that it's your notifications you're checking. They would actually think is your time you're checking. Every time a notification pops in and you have to look and you bring down your hand, you have to look. To the other person who doesn't know, they will just automatically assume that it is your time that you're checking, which now puts them under pressure or under tension and makes them feel like they're taking up your time. So if you have a smartwatch, just ensure that you put it on silent mode so that you don't always have to keep raising up your hand. And if you are crunched for time, it is also important that you communicate this to the person who you are having a conversation with so that you can either postpone the conversation or keep the conversation very light and quick so that you can still attend to whatever it is you want to attend to. But don't just keep looking at your watch without communicating to the person who you are in a conversation with, okay? The next conversation killer is focusing on everything else but the person who is talking to you. You're scrolling through your phone, someone is literally having an active conversation with you. You're scrolling through your phone, you're watching the TV, you're twirling your hair, you're looking around. The only place you need to be focused on is the person's. Try as much as possible to make eye contact with the person. Of course, there's a balance you have to bring. Not that you carry your eyes and put at the person's eyes like this. No, like there's a right way to make eye contact with the person that shows them that they have your full and your rapt attention on whatever it is that they are saying. So don't be everywhere. Drop your phone. You can get back to whatever it is that you're checking. And I always say that if you are not really chanced, or if you don't have the time to actually have that conversation with this person, then it's better, or it's polite behavior to ask to move or adjourn the conversation to a later time when you know that you can give them your full and rapt attention. It is impossible for you to do two different things at the same time. It's impossible to focus on a conversation and try to scroll through social media to respond to a message or to look at whatever it is you're looking at. So wait for a better time when you can have the conversation, or if you choose to have the conversation at that time, drop your phone and avoid every form of distractions, okay? The next conversation killer, and this one is actually one that's super duper annoying, is making every conversation about yourself. A friend comes to you and probably shares with you a good news, a joyous story, or maybe even a sad, emotional story about themselves. And instead of you to keep the attention on your friend by focusing on their story, you take that attention and put it on yourself by trying to narrate a similar story or a similar incident that's happened to you and talking about what you did and how you went through the situation. No, that's not okay. When someone comes to tell you or share a story with you, keep the attention on them. If you don't know what to say, you can just ask them simple questions like, okay, so how did he make you feel? Maybe they're telling you something about how their boyfriend did something negative to them. Instead of telling them of your own encounter with your own boyfriend, no, you ask them, okay, so how did he make you feel? Okay, so what did you do in that instance? How did your boyfriend respond to the situation? So you keep that attention on them, unless they ask you, okay, so if you were you, what would you do in this situation? Then you can now make the conversation about yourself, of course, with their permission, okay? The next point here is maintaining a nonchalant attitude during the conversation. Now, your body language says a lot about your investment in that conversation. How you are, how your body is, how you keep your body, the gesticulations you make, the sounds you make with your mouth, the things you do actually shows a person whether or not you really want to be a part of that conversation. So if you're really interested in the conversation, remember, give your rapt attention and ensure that your body language actually shows that you are interested. Now, I know that I said that I have 10 points, but I looked at my notes and I found out that I actually have 12 points. So the 11th point here is stomping out of the conversation, especially when it's not going your way. This one can either be when you hang up the phone when someone is talking to you over the phone, or you literally physically stomp out of a conversation. Now, maturity demands that you apply emotional intelligence during your conversations, especially when you are having hard conversations. There is such a thing as hard conversations. And actually, hard conversations actually determine the strength or the quality of your relationships. You cannot avoid hard conversations. Every conversation is not going to be so rosy and so sweet where everyone is trying not to step on each other's toes or being sensitive. Sometimes the truth has to be told the way it is. It will hurt. You may feel it. It may hurt you. It may pain you, but you have to learn how to have hard conversations. Hard conversations can sometimes mean someone is throwing a huge tantrum, someone is being very emotionally angry. it now depends on you to find a way to detach your emotions from what the person is saying and listen to what they're saying. Take in the things that make sense to you. Sit your butt down and just have that conversation and ensure that your primary goal, of course, is to have an effective conversation with the person. I put down here that not all conversations will be mild and cordial. Sometimes hard truths need to be addressed as well. And so if it's not going your way this time, don't stomp and leave. Have the emotional intelligence or the emotional maturity to stay put through the conversation. The ability to detach your emotions from the conversations and listen attentively while taking in what is being said is one of the greatest hallmarks of emotional intelligence. And the last one here is not contributing to the conversation, especially if your opinion is needed. Some people lack expression. They just don't know what to say. They probably know what to say, but they just don't know how to express it. And because of that, they keep mute throughout a conversation. That shows that you're not a very intelligent or smart person. Your ability to contribute to a conversation shows that you know who you are, you know what you stand for, and it helps other people know that you know how to really truly express yourself. Because let me tell you something, you will continue to be pushed over or pushed aside if you don't open your mouth to express yourself and share the thoughts, ideas, and your feelings with other people in your life. So when you are in a conversation with your family, friends, co-workers, whoever it is, learn to open your mouth and contribute to the conversation so that people know that you can actually talk. Because the people who don't talk are the people who are easily bullied. Okay, so don't be that person. Now that's all of the bad conversation habits that I have on my list. In case you think that I missed out on anyone, let's continue the conversation in the comment section down below. I'll see you again with another video. Until then, remember to stay very, very elegant.